This is kind of a PSA for a book I really liked about weight. Basically, it's kind of about weight loss and why what we do in America is wrong. It's called The French Don't Diet Plan by Will Clower. And after I read it, it made so much more sense why America is obese and parts of the rest of the world aren't. So he was a neurophysiologist, got his degree in the U.S., moved to France, and noticed that no one was fat in France, like under 10% of the population when the book was published in 2006. I think it's a little higher now because they're eating more American foods. But they break all of the rules that we are taught about nutrition and dieting and exercise in the U.S., and they're way healthier because we're taught the wrong things. Like, they tell you to question everything. Well, given how many people are fat in the U.S., you should probably consider that some of the conventional American advice for what works for weight loss is wrong, because we have tons of advice and we're one of the fattest nations that has ever existed ever. So just going over the intro, he talks about some of the things that they do. The French don't eat processed foods. The French don't avoid fat. The French don't avoid carbs. They don't take supplements. They don't shun wine at lunch and dinner. They don't rush through their meals. And that's definitely, like talking about avoiding fats. French desserts are decadent, and they involve tons of like dairy, fat. Like he was talking about in the grocery stores there's no low-fat products. Just everything is full fat. But later in the book, he talks about the average size of a dessert is the size of 4 cubes of cheese and you think about what they serve you for a dessert at like the Cheesecake Factory. That's like 10 times that, and it's no wonder that we're fired. So they eat these really, really good desserts, but they just don't eat like a pound of them. And so they also treat meals as more of a something they get to do as opposed to like a chore. He also does, through the book, he goes through some of the physiology of it as well. We're taught not to eat late at night. The French eat plenty late at night. The Spanish are even worse. The Spanish go out and party all late at night. They're also one of the healthiest nations on earth, and it's possibly because when you're sleeping, your body can devote its full attention to digestion, which is actually good. We're taught it makes you fat here, but obviously you got to look at the you got to look at the who's obese, us or them. So he talks about that, and he also goes over, he's an actual medical doctor, so he talks about the science behind insulin and why we're taught in the U.S. that you can eat 100 calories of food and then you can go get on a treadmill and burn off 100 calories and then it'll be the same. And although physics is conserved, that's not a good way to think about it, because in physics terms it's the same to eat a pound of sugar and a pound of lettuce, but we all know that in physiological terms, that's totally different. So the idea then is that you're better off not eating a ton of food and then trying to burn it off. You just have to not eat as much in the first place. But part of the reason that it's easy to do that is because it takes your body 10 to 15 minutes to register that you're full. And in America, where we treat that as a chore, and we just cram the food into our mouth, as fast as we can, drive through the drive-thru, eat it on the car. I mean, I do that stuff all the time. But what happens is that we're also not paying attention to what we eat, so we wind up eating way more than we want, and that's what causes us to gain weight. And as well as the physiological interaction with insulin levels and all of that. So that is, it's just a great book. It's about 300 pages. It's an easy read, though. Half of this is all recipes that you can just skim over, but really, really solid. I highly recommend it.